The Terre Haute mayoral debate with Republican incumbent Mayor Duke Bennett and Democratic challenger Brandon Sackbun. Now, this evening's moderator, News 10's Patrice Dayton.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for this Terre Haute mayoral debate. I'm Patrice Dayton, and I'll be acting as moderator this evening. Tonight, the current Mayor Duke Bennett and challenger Brandon Sackbun are joining us live in studio. In the next hour, you will hear answers to questions that you at home wanted us to ask. My friend and partner, News 10's Rondrell Moore, is our official timer tonight. He tells us how the timing will work in tonight's debate.
Thank you very much, Patrice. The candidates will have 90 seconds to answer each question. They'll then be offered a 30-second rebuttal to respond to his opponent if desired. When time is up, you'll hear this. And moments ago, we used a coin toss to determine who will get the first question. That will be Mr. Sackbun. From there, we'll alternate who answers first.
All right, good luck, gentlemen. We begin tonight with 90 seconds each with an opening statement. First opening statement, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Patrice. It's great to be here tonight, and thank you, WTHI, for hosting this event. I think it's really important to get the message out to the voters of our community. You know, I got involved in this many years ago because I wanted to see a two-party system and have somebody on the ballot to make good choices. And I really wanted to make a difference in the community. That's what this has been all about, and during my entire career as mayor. And we've made a tremendous amount of progress over that time. We've been able to do a lot of things, work through a lot of financial issues, and do a lot of things that have put us in a great position as we move forward. And so now we're primed to really bust loose. And so I think it's really important that the people get out and vote. That's clear. Number two, to take a look at how we've been doing and really measure that as a big part of how to decide how you're going to vote, and take a look at the progress that we've made. And I think it's been pretty astonishing what's happened in the last 15, 16 years. And so I look forward to a robust debate tonight, talking about the issues as we do every day, and finding a way to continue to make this a better community. I think every day I get up, I think about how can I make it a better place for my grandchildren and my children. And so that's what this is all about, is Terre Haute being a great community, and I'd love to be able to serve again and carry this on forward. So thank you.
Mr. Sackbun, your 90-second opening statement.
Good evening, Wabash Valley, and to the citizens of Terre Haute. My name is Brandon Sackbun, and the story of the Sackbun family started 30 years ago when a Cambodian doctor and a young Jamaican woman immigrated and moved to the city of Terre Haute. Over the last 30 years, I've been blessed to become a member of this community. I went to school here. I went on to study finance at the Indiana University Kelley School of Business. I've served the nation as an Army Ranger, working jobs from ground force commander to liaison officer, working in budgets at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. I'm passionate about the city of Terre Haute. I'm passionate about moving it forward. Over the last 2 decades, we've seen a declining population and certain statistics that can be frustrating. They show that it is time for change, time for us to truthfully move forward and to take advantage of some of the opportunities at the State House and at the federal level. I'm looking forward to the next 60 minutes discussing these issues with you, and also want to give a quick thank you to Mayor Duke Bennett, who's been nothing but civil over the last few months on the campaign trail, and I look forward to this civil discussion here tonight. Thank you.
And thank you both. Now we move on to our questions that you, the viewers, provided to us. The very first question tonight: what do you think is the biggest challenge facing the city of Terre Haute right now, and how will you prioritize it? Mr. Sackbun answers first.
Yeah, so looking at that question, I really think a couple of kind of conjoined problems. The first is a population decline combined with a median income that is 90th out of 92 counties in the state of Indiana. Essentially, what that means is the average Haitian makes less than the average Hoosier, and the average Hoosier makes less than the average American. How do you combat that? Well, it's a mixture of economic development, it's a mixture of housing and workforce development. Essentially what I'm getting at is, how are we bringing in jobs to the city of Terre Haute? How are we promoting jobs within, pushing our future small business owners, incentivizing those who want to take a business risk on the city of Terre Haute? And how are we housing an incoming workforce? You know, I look at infill housing and tackling that problem block by block throughout our city and our inner city neighborhoods. And lastly, workforce development. I'm always focused on, if we met someone on the street today, how can we help them get back on track? How can we train them to work in the labor community or have full-time employment? And how can we help them become housed? Thank you.
Mr. Bennett, 90 seconds.
You know, the best way we can do what we need in our community is have strong families. And that means a good income, a place to live, options, availability to you to be able to progress and move up in your community. We've been able to recruit some really good businesses here in the last couple of years that are going to pay great wages. So that's the targeted kind of thing that we're going for. You know, a couple of these two out of the last three are starting people at $70,000 a year. Those are the kind of things that will help us with our household income. But having a strong family that can own their own home is the goal for everybody. We've done a lot of groundwork to get us to this point, and now we're starting to reap the success of that. We have a lot of work still to do, there's no question about that. We've got to do better with our graduates from high school, give them an opportunity whether they go to college or have a job here that'll provide them the income they need, all those things. So it's across the board from housing to childcare, workforce development, you name it, it's all those things wrapped into the one question of how we make stronger families. And so our plan has been solid and it's starting to make a big difference now. It takes a while to do that and we're really starting to see the successes from that, but we still have much more work to do.
We are allowing 30-second rebuttals to each question. It's not mandatory if you choose. Mr. Sackbun.
Absolutely, and here we are again talking about this community plan. When you look at the 141-page plan, a lot of it data and graphics, my concern is that it says task force or committee over 100 times in this plan. And I get frustrated with the updates to the community, the updates to the business community on what to expect and how to get involved. I think the plan is falling short. The census clearly shows that median income declining and the population declining.
Mr. Bennett.
So I would say our community plan is strong. You know, we created that in 2019. COVID slowed us down a little bit, but the results so far have been tremendous. We've got about 150 people working on these different committees that are helping to make things happen in the community. Our population really hasn't declined. If you look, we've lost 1,000 people over the last 20 years, and ISU's enrollment has dropped nearly 5,000 people. So I look at it as it's a stable population. That's not the only thing we should be measuring, though. We've got to continue to work on, as I mentioned earlier, the stronger families and the income.
Gentlemen, if it's okay, I'm going to move on to the next question because you're starting to talk about questions that we have later as well.
Absolutely.
Both candidates have been talking about their life experiences in their campaign ads. So the question to you, with that in mind, our viewers want to know how your life experiences will guide you to lead Terre Haute. Mr. Bennett, you answer first.
Okay, thank you. You know, I've done a lot of different things. I worked for a software development company for 15 years. Great opportunity to travel the United States and see a lot of things. When I left there, I went to Hamilton Center as their director of IT and eventually became director of operations. A lot of executive management experience in both of those environments. And then of course, since I've been mayor, all those things add up to what's important, and that's experience to run the city. There were some things that I learned when I got there, but a lot of things that I already knew how to do. And so, especially budgeting when it came to that kind of a thing. You know, I think at the end of the day, what's important is not only looking at educational background, but that work experience. And I think it's really important, especially in these times, that we continue to move forward in a very positive way with the leadership we have in place.
Mr. Sackbun, 90 seconds.
I was blessed to receive a finance degree from a top-ranked business school, the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. After that, I was in the military full-time. During that time, I served as an Army Ranger. It was an absolute honor to put that uniform on and to serve my nation, our nation. During that time, I worked in management, crisis response, strategic planning, and budgeting. Military special operations budgets are audited all the time. I got to work in strategic planning and funding with other nations, with other three-letter agencies, with Rangers, with SEALs, all of it combined. And at first it was drinking through a fire hose, but it was a great learning opportunity and it helped me grow. It helped me shape into the young man that I am here today. I currently still serve in the Indiana National Guard. Again, an entity focused on crisis response. I've worked at different levels of government and over the past 27 years have been blessed to go to top-ranked educational institutions as well as have real tangible life experience working with government agencies, ranging from the local level to the federal level.
Mr. Bennett, would you like a rebuttal?
I would just say that, education is very important. I have 2 college degrees and very proud of both of them, and they've led me to where I am today. But it's that work experience that means the most. I had an opportunity at Hamilton Center to do a lot of executive related things and really positioned me very well for this. And then you learn, you get in there and you make it work. And I think what we've done is some tremendous things from the perspective of being able to deliver for the people of Terre Haute, and that's what it's all about.
Mr. Sackbun, 30 seconds.
When it comes to delivering, I delivered time and time again as a member of the special operations community. I don't know what a lot of different folks were doing at the age of 27, but I know my personal experience. And I firmly believe that serving as an Army Ranger, working with government for Congress, for a United States President, has shown me what government can do at its best and at its worst. And I'm confident I have the skills necessary to lead on day one.
Mr. Bennett, ready for the next question? All right, thank you, gentlemen. A lot of you wrote to us concerned about crime in the area. Here's your question. In 2021, the Indiana Department of Corrections reported nearly a 33% 3-year adult recidivism rate in Vigo County. Now that means 1/3 of those who got out of jail committed a crime again and went back behind bars. So the question, what concrete steps will your administration take to stop this cycle? Mr. Sackbun.
So really with that question, and it's a great statistic that shows the unfortunate reality of the crime situation here in Terre Haute, not to mention our property crime, which ranks among the top in the state. 3 concrete steps that I'll take. One is a close working relationship with the court system focused on rehabilitation and workforce development. And that starts with partnerships, not just with the nonprofit community, but also the recovery community. Giving folks an opportunity to get back into the American life. Giving them an opportunity to work, to rent a home and then purchase a home, and to go through adult education. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, folks commit crime and they go behind bars, and sometimes they're repeat offenders. But what we really got to do is, if they're given a second opportunity, we have to give them a concrete shot at earning a livable wage. That starts with working with the recovery community, working with our court system, and working with organizations like Work One in terms of workforce development.
Mr. Bennett, 90 seconds.
So let's talk about the crime for a minute. Our property crimes have dropped by 40% since I took office. That is a significant drop, and we'll continue to see that go down. Our violent crimes are flat across the board. I'm very proud of that. We've not seen any increase in violent crime. There's going to be crime. It happens. People, for a variety of reasons why they think they need to go out and commit a crime, I think having a bigger jail helps us as a local community. When our officers go out and arrest people and we put them in jail, then it's up to the county and the prosecutor and the judges to deal with those folks. It's not the city's responsibility to deal with them. As a community, though, we all have to come together and figure out what are the pieces of this puzzle. There's a huge addiction problem, and a lot of people have to feed that habit by committing a crime. So there needs to be more money in mental health and addictions, both from the state. That's where the money needs to come from. And we need to find ways to put case management in place to help these folks, because if they get out of jail, they'll just tend to go back, and the recidivism, as you talked about, is what happens. You go back to your family and friends who are still doing those things, and it's hard for you to stay out of that. So I think we've got some great programs in place. We just need to do more to make sure we keep people working through that process, and case management is the key to that.
Mental health and addiction is the next question. So if you can avoid that topic, 30-second rebuttal?
Yeah, let's take a look at those crime statistics for a second. To say they're down 40% when there's numerous studies and articles, I'm sure you guys have seen it all over the internet, pointing to Terre Haute, Indiana being one of the most dangerous cities, not just in the state of Indiana, but in the United States. I mean, to say that it's down 40%, we have to ask ourselves, did something change in the way crime was reported? Because a study today in the Tribune-Star showed we were ranked in the bottom 10th percentile when it came to crime, ranked among small cities and small towns.
Mr. Bennett.
So I'm going to try this again. Back in June of 22, we explained to the public how the data is incorrect in the FBI statistics, and they will be corrected for 2021. We're waiting on that to happen right now. They will not go back and fix 18, 19, or 20. So you're going to see it's been flat, it jumped up, and now it's going to come right back down and be flat again. And those are all actual data that we have to report to the FBI. The system changed in 2018 all across the state of Indiana. So everybody's numbers are much different. When you have an incident, you now have multiple crimes reported. So we actually have more.
Would you, Mr. Sackbun, like another rebuttal?
Absolutely. So now we're describing a situation where we see an increase and it goes back to flat, and we use the word stagnant. Folks, if we're stagnant as a community, whether it's workforce development or crime, we have to recognize that other communities are passing us by while we remain stagnant.
Mr. Bennett, one final rebuttal.
Well, and that would be true about crime, because in most cities our size and bigger, crime is going through the roof. It is not doing that in Terre Haute, Indiana. It's a very safe place to live.
As you both know, mental health and addiction goes hand in hand. Oftentimes they go hand in hand with crime. So your next question tonight. First of all, some background. Mental Health America puts Vigo County as high risk for severe depression and suicidal thoughts, and a moderate risk for PTSD. Your question, and Mr. Bennett, you will answer first. What do you see as the mayor's role in helping address issues of mental health?
You know, one of the things we're doing, obviously, let's take a step back. Just obviously my time at Hamilton Center, I learned a lot. I did not know a lot at the time, but I went out of there with a lot of knowledge about mental health and addictions. It takes funding and it takes good programs, not just throwing money at things, but actually doing something that has an impact in the community. We are blessed with a tremendous amount of providers here. One of the things that I've helped to spearhead is bringing those providers together. We've had 2 meetings so far with all of the local providers, trying to figure out how we move forward and not compete with each other and not keep each other from getting grant money and other sources of revenue to be able to fund these programs. We are blessed, and so what we've got to do is make sure we provide the supports, as the mayor, provide support for them to deliver the services. They're perfect to do that, whether a not-for-profit or a for-profit. That's their role. They're the experts. They need to do that. The mayor needs to play a facilitator, needs to play a supporter, and help to get these grants. I've signed off on numerous grants for Mental Health America, Hamilton Center, and others to help them make sure they get the funds they need to do what they need to do. This group is going to identify the deficiencies in it so we can plug those holes and then continue to seek additional funding from the state of Indiana that's coming. It's in the pipeline. It's going to be coming to Vigo County.
Mr. Sackbun, 90 seconds.
To hear that we've had 2 meetings with this group over the last 16 years is incredibly frustrating. Mental health is a problem across the United States and right here in the city of Terre Haute, Indiana. It does not matter how many ribbon cuttings you attend, how many streets you pave, if the emotional well-being of the people of Terre Haute is not up to standard, then I believe as a leader, you should step in and drive towards a solution. As mayor of Terre Haute, I would look to implement a director of mental health, charged not just with quarterbacking this group of nonprofits and different agencies, but charged and challenged with seeking grant-based funding, but also looking at incoming casino revenue to go towards addiction services. Not a lot, but at least enough to say, hey, this creates a facility where people can go to receive help. And why do I bring this up? Gambling is the #2 addiction in the United States of America. And we have a casino going in here in the city of Terre Haute. It's okay to acknowledge we have problems, but 2 meetings in 16 years is a bit frustrating.
Mr. Bennett,
So
30 seconds.
that's a bit disingenuous to say something like that. You know, it's disrespectful to the people in our community that are working hard on this every day. It's not the mayor's job to go tell people how to do mental health and addiction services. It's just not. And I will not use city money to hire somebody to go tell these other folks how to do their job. So we've got a great bunch of providers, and we're going to continue to work with them so they can do their job, and we'll stay out of their way.
Mr. Sackbun.
Yeah, that's frustrating. It's not disingenuous. It's simply stating that one person to help synchronize these efforts full-time will only make that group better. It's not telling them what to do. It's synchronizing the many lines of effort to combat this problem. Since leaving the military, I've had more phone calls about this situation getting worse than I have had losing friends in different scenarios overseas. It's a challenge. It's facing the kids in our community, it's facing the adults in the community, and it's facing the elders in our community.
We've hit a hot button question. Mr. Bennett, would you like another rebuttal?
You know, I think it's pretty clear that I've said it multiple times here. We've got great providers. They know exactly what they're doing. They need to continue to work down their path to help as many people as they can. The state is going to have to provide some more funding, though. That's where the money comes from. That's where the decisions come from. It's a state-based issue that we need to deal with locally. And so I'm excited about the direction it's going in. It's not just me bringing these people together, it's a whole group of people. So I feel strongly about the direction that that's headed.
Mr. Sackbun.
I think what we see here is two passionate individuals focused on tackling this problem with just different routes to do it. Again, my concept is a city employee to help navigate this future state funding that's just in the pipeline. But I would like to have someone on the city budget who is tackling this issue for the city of Terre Haute.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. A survey last summer counted 531 homeless people in our community. Here's your question. Residents of Terre Haute are looking for a long-term solution to help these folks. How would you connect homeless people to resources that will help them? Mr. Sackbun, 90 seconds.
Yes, so the numbers do show an increase in the homelessness population here in Terre Haute, Indiana. And to me, housing is a human right, right? There's a lot of folks that are battling the mental health issues we've previously discussed, and there's a lot of folks who simply got let off and need an opportunity to get back on their feet. I think that's working with some of the organizations in town to add more permanent supportive housing and housing first solutions that are combined with adult education centers, workforce development, and create a pipeline from these facilities to employment. What do I mean by that? I look at the location of these facilities and then instantly pull out the city map for busing. Again, we've got to play chess, not checkers. We've got to move these facilities and put them in areas that are accessible to city buses, so that way we've got a new form of transportation for some of these folks to use to and from employment.
Mr. Bennett, 90 seconds.
You know, it's, well, I guess there's a couple different ways to look at this. Homelessness, most of the people that are homeless, the vast majority, have some type of mental health or an addiction. That's just, it's a known fact. I know a lot of people here locally that I've had the experience to work with over time. A lot of them don't want any help. One of the things that we created, helped create through Reach Services with Pathways Daycare Drop-In Center, Day Drop-In Center. It's a place where our police officers and other community workers can send them to go get some help. Some of them will go, they'll take a shower, they've got a locker there, they can do whatever they need to do, but those people tend to go back into the streets at night and sleep. That's their choice. That's what they want to do. This is a much bigger problem than just Terre Haute, Indiana. As you could see these stories from all across the United States, it is a growing problem with people living on the streets that need those services. How we do that is really difficult, because when I talk to several people and say, why don't you go to the Pathways? Why don't you go to talk to somebody? Why don't you go to Hamilton Center? Let me call them. They don't want to play by the rules. They don't want to be a part of that. We've got places for them to go here. We refer them to there. Some will do that, many others won't. So we just got to keep working it very hard to have these not-for-profits deliver with opportunities for them. And it's a difficult subject. It's easy to say you're going to fix it, but it's a very difficult thing to deal with.
Mr. Sackbun, would you like a rebuttal?
So here we've identified that this is a difficult subject, and the homelessness issue ties into the mental health issue. Again, that's why we need a full-time mental health coordinator who is working with a group similar to the House program in Evansville that tackles homelessness, mental health, and improving a housing stock all in one. Folks, this is a difficult issue, and we're clearly not doing enough to solve it if the numbers are increasing.
Mr. Bennett.
You know, I've done a lot of research on this, and all these cities that put people and dollars behind it, the next year they have to spend more and more and more, and the problem continues to grow. Throwing money at it through city government is not the solution.
All right, we have many more of your questions when we return. Right now, we're going to take a quick break.